Okay, so when you think about the internet, what comes to mind? Probably the cloud, right? Something kind of wireless, just floating up there in the sky. Well, I'm here to tell you that's pretty much a myth. The truth is way more physical, and it's hiding deep, deep down at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. Get this, more than 99% of all international data isn't being beamed around by satellites. Nope, it's actually racing at the speed of light through a very real, very physical network of cables.
And that means pretty much everything we do online, from our work calls to the global financial markets to the absolutely massive data dumps that power generative AI. It all depends completely on this hidden underwater infrastructure. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're going to peel back the layers on these incredible engineering marvels, look at the new power players who control them, and uncover the surprising dangers that are threatening this invisible nervous system of our planet. All right, first things first, let's talk about the cable itself. The story here actually starts almost 200 years ago and was all driven by one simple idea. We needed to communicate faster than a ship could cross the ocean.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It really shows you the insane scale of progress we've made. We went from a measly 1-2 words a minute back in 1866 to now over 200 terabits per second. To give you some perspective, that's like going from a horse and buggy straight to a spaceship that travels faster than light. It's just a mind-boggling leap.
And here's the really wild part. For all that power, a modern deep-sea cable is only about as thick as your average garden hose. Seriously. And yet, this thing has to be tough enough to survive pressures that would crush a submarine, and it needs to work perfectly, 24/7, for a quarter of a century. So, how on earth is that even possible?
Well, it's possible because it's basically built like a high-tech onion, just layer after layer of protection. Right at the very heart of it, you have these hair-thin optical fibers that carry the actual data. Then, you wrap those in super strong steel wires for strength, a copper conductor to send power down the line, and finally, a thick plastic jacket to keep the crushing pressure and corrosive seawater out. But there is this one huge physics problem that engineers had to solve. You see, when you send a pulse of light thousands of kilometers through a glass fiber, it naturally gets weaker and dimmer the farther it goes. It's something called signal attenuation. So how do you stop your data from just fading away into nothing before it even crosses the Atlantic? This innovation right here is the whole ball game. The old way was really clunky. You had to turn the light into electricity, boost the signal, and then turn it back into light. It was slow. The modern solution, this little device called an EDFA, is pure genius. It amplifies the light directly, without all that conversion. It's this one brilliant invention that really unlocked the high-speed global internet we know today. Okay, let's shift gears, because this story isn't just about incredible engineering anymore. Now it's about money and power. It's about who actually owns and controls these digital arteries of our world. You know, for decades, these cables were owned by big groups of telecom companies all pitching in together. Well, not anymore. Not even close. Today, a staggering 75% of the active data-carrying capacity on these cables is owned and run privately by just 4 companies: Google, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. That is a massive shift in power.
So why? Why are they spending billions and billions to lay their own private cables across the ocean floor? It's pretty simple, actually, to win the AI race. If you control the pipes, you have a gigantic strategic advantage. It lets you move your huge AI models and all that data around the world faster and with less lag than anyone else. And just to help you wrap your head around the scale we're talking about, take a look at Meta's Project Waterworth. It's a single cable system that's going to circle the globe, and it has enough bandwidth for 4.3 billion people to be on a Zoom call at the exact same time. That's the kind of insane data firehose big tech needs to run its global empire. So, this all brings us to a really critical point. For all its power and all its capacity, this global network is surprisingly delicate. It's actually full of vulnerabilities that most of us never even consider. So, what do you think the biggest threat is to this multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure? International spies? Sharks trying to take a bite? Nope. It's fishing boats and ship anchors. A full 70% of all the times these cables break, it's because of totally normal, everyday, human stuff accidentally getting dragged across the seafloor. And these accidents become way more dangerous in what are called choke points. These narrow little waterways where dozens of cables are all squeezed together.
So a single ship dropping anchor in the wrong spot in the Red Sea could disrupt almost all the data traffic between Europe and Asia. Suddenly, these boring old straits are becoming major strategic battlegrounds.
And to make things even worse, when a cable does get cut, we've got a real bottleneck when it comes to fixing it. The entire planet, the whole world, relies on an aging fleet of only about 80 special repair ships. And with more and more cables being laid every single year, that little fleet is under a ton of strain. We're talking a $3 billion investment just to keep up.
So where is all this heading? Let's take a look at what the future might hold for this incredible undersea network, because it seems to be going in two very different but equally fascinating directions at the same time.
On one hand, you've got something called multi-core fiber. That's tech designed to just cram even more data into a single strand of glass, all to feed the bottomless appetite of AI and future wireless networks. But on a completely different track, you have smart cables, which are all about turning this network into a powerful tool for scientific discovery.
The idea behind smart cables is it's revolutionary. By building sensors for things like temperature, pressure, and seismic vibrations directly into the cable's power units, we could basically turn the entire internet into a giant sensor for the planet. Think about it. This could give us an unbelievable new look at climate change and provide critical early warnings for things like tsunamis. And this isn't science fiction. The first one is actually scheduled to be deployed in 2026.
Which leaves us with this one big final question. As this invisible network gets more and more powerful, what will it become? Will it be a tool that brings us all together through shared scientific knowledge? Or will the fight to control the data flowing through it turn the deep, dark ocean floor into the next great battleground for global power? The answer, I guess, is still being written, one tiny strand of glass at a time.